Alhamdulillah, today in our wudu session, Fiqh of Wudu, we're going to speak about the masah on the head. Sheikh Ibn Balban, rahimahullah, he said in his text, Fard of Wudu, he said, وَمَسَحُ جَمِيعِ الرَّأْسِ, and the masah of the full head, مَعَ الْأُذُنَيْن, and the two ears, along with the two ears. We all understand that doing the masah of the head is part of the fourth part, the mandatory parts of the wudu, and this comes straight from the ayah in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the ayah of wudu, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, and do the masah of your heads, from your heads. It depends how you translate it. We'll inshallah get into that in a little bit. Also from the hadith, from the wudu of Uthman radiallahu anh, we understand that Uthman radiallahu anh, when he was showing Humran how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did the wudu, he said ثُمَّ مَسَحَ بِرَأْسِهِ, then he did the masah of his head. There's some evidences I brought for you. For example, where the masah of the head is mentioned in al-Bukhari, there's a hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is known to do this. ثُمَّ مَسَحَ رَأْسَهُ, then he did the masah of his head بِيَدَيْهِ, with his hand. فَأَقْبَلَ بِهِمَا وَأَدْبَرَ بَدَأَ بِمُقَدَّمِ رَأْسِهِ حَتَّى ذهب بِهِمَا إِلَى قَفَاهُ ثُمَّ رَدَّهُمَا إِلَى الْمَكَانِ الَّذِي بَدَأَ مِنْهِ. Basically, Rasulullah began with the front part of his head, went all the way down to the nape of the neck, then he brought his hands back to the front where he began. This is authentic hadith in Bukhari. Alright, before we get into the procedure, let's look at the dhikr that Imam al-Ghazali recommends that you do. There's a dhikr for every single action, and for the masah of the head, there's a beautiful dhikr here with the beautiful meaning, where he's recommended that we say, Allahumma ikhshini bi rahmatik, oh Allah, cover me with your mercy. When you're doing the masah of your head, this thought needs to cross our minds. وَأَنزِلْ عَلَيَّ مِنْ بَرَكَاتِكَ, oh Allah, descend down your blessings upon me. وَأَظِلَّنِي تَحْتَ ظِلِّ عَرْشِكَ, and يَوْمَ لَا ظِلَّ إِلَّا ظِلُّكَ, and give me the shade underneath your throne, O Allah, on the day when there is no shade, on the day that there is no shade, on the day of judgment. So that's a beautiful dua when you're doing the masah of your head, to think about the day of judgment. Alright, so the procedure, let's talk about the procedure. And this is a longer topic. I'm going to try to do justice to it and try to go quickly, inshallah. There's a lot of disagreement upon how to do the masah, okay? But bottom line is, if you learned Ibn Balban, the text that we're reading, he's a Hanbali scholar, so he recommends masah of the whole head along with the ears. That's what he said. Okay? So according to Shafi'i, by the way, if you see the S over here, that means Shafi'i. Imam Shafi'i, and I'll get into why these things are being said, why they're being said. He said any amount of hair directly connected to the head. You can do the masah of any amount of hair. Anything that you can call a masah. Masah, what does masah mean? Brush, yeah, brush. You can say wipe. Wipe is a better. So I can do the, for example, masah of the wall. I just did the masah of the wall, right? So anything that you do that can be called you did masah is masah. Make sense? So it could be, it's not the amount of head you do the masah on, it's what you would call a masah. This is Imam al-Shafi'i. The Hanafis, and we'll get into this, the Hanafi school, it says that you should do the masah of the palm width of your, the top of, it's called the nasiyah. Now this part up here, the hair on the top of your head, this area is called the nasiyah, as we learned in Surah Al-Alaq, for example. Nasfa'an bin nasiyah. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grab him from his nasiyah. So this is the nasiyah. Okay, so this amount of hair. So Imam Abu Hanifa, not Imam Abu Hanifa, Hanafi school says palm width, this is the palm, the width of your head, this is the fard part to do, the masah on. It must be this much. Maliki and Hanbali, they say it should be the whole head, the entire head. Hanbalis say any entire head, the hair that is connected to the head. Malikis go as far as if you have long hair, like women have long hair, they should do the masah of the whole head along with the full hair. They need to do the masah of the hair. So they need to kind of pull it and do something like that. You see the varying degrees there? Okay. And what is the sunnah? All agree, Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali all agree that at least it's a sunnah to do the full head. So my recommendation, do the masah of the full head. It's at least a sunnah, right? And Malikis and Hanbali says you go front and then you go, as a sunnah, you go back, okay? But that is, again, a sunnah, as we saw in the hadith of the Bukhari, where it is narrated that Rasulullah went forward and then he went backward, or you can say backward and then he went forward, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, there are 11 opinions on the amount of hair you have to do masah on. Some scholars say 1 hair is sufficient. Some say 3 hair is the minimum. This is all minimum. Okay, this is all minimum. 1 hair is the minimum. 3 hair is the minimum. It comes from the same thing. You know, when you do umrah and you have to do the halaq, some people say they'll cut a little bit of their hair and that's jaiz. Where does that come from? It's the similar kind of logic that the scholars use. I'm not saying that is correct. I'm just giving you an example. So some say anything that is called a masah, as Imam Shafi'i said, as Abu Hanifa said, it must be the nasiya at a minimum. One say it should be the 1/4 of the head, not 1/3, but 1/4 of the head. Some say it should be 3 or 4 finger width, which is similar to the palm of the width. And some, like Imam Malik says, it must be the whole head. And some say leaving out parts of your head is okay. It's jaiz. Some say leaving off 1/3 of your head is okay. The 10th opinion, 1/3 of the head is that's sufficient. And the 11th opinion, the front part is okay. You see the difference of opinion? Why is there disagreement? It goes back to the ayah. Okay? That's one of the reasons of agreement, and there's other details which I'm not going to get into. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for example, in the ayah of wudu, what did he say? وَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. Wash your faces. So let's go back to the ayah just to give you an idea. Even though if you don't know Arabic, I'm just going to tell you something. اغسلوا, forget about the fa for a second. اغسلوا, wash, wujuhakum, your faces. There is nothing in the middle. Wash your faces. Wa aydiyakum, and your arms. إلى المرافق, to the elbows. Wamsahu bi ru'usikum. If you ignore the bi, if it just said wamsahu ru'usakum, that would be grammatically correct. That would be grammatically correct. Do the masah of your head. That's how you would translate it without the bi. Okay? There is a bi in the Quran. Wamsahu bi. What does bi mean? Okay, long story short, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, according to them, He is making this a smaller part of the whole head. Saying part of the head. The one way you can translate this, wipe part of your head. Wamsahu bi ru'usikum. Wipe part of your head. This is how scholars look at it. That's one reason for agreement. It's like, what does this bi mean? Clear? The second is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam always, almost always, if not always, wore a turban. How did he do wudu? He's wearing a turban, right? He's going to move his turban back a little bit, or put his hand underneath the turban, wipe his head, and put his turban back. So Imam Abu Hanifa said this is why he said doing the nasiyah is the minimum. Doing the front part of your hair is the minimum, because this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. For example, from Anas radiallahu anhu, in hadith is in Abi Dawud, رأيت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يتوضأ وعليه عمامة قطرية. He said, I saw Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم perform wudu and he was wearing a turban, قطرية, some kind of turban. فأدخل يده من تحت العمامة. Then he put his hand underneath the imama, underneath the turban. فمسح مقدم رأسه. Then he did the masah of the front of his head. وَلَمْ يَنْقُضِ الْعِمَامَةِ. And he did not take off his turban. I'm not saying this is the only evidence. I'm just giving you an idea. This is one example from many, many other examples which say various things. Okay, this is Hadith in Abu Dawud. So you can understand why scholars are interpreting that doing the nasiyah is the minimum. And wiping the nasiyah, for example, from Mughira, this is Hadith Muslim, very authentic, radiyallahu an. Al-Mughira, he said, and the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tawadda'a. He did wudu, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did wudu, فَمَسَحَ بِنَاصِيَتِهِ وَعَلَى الْعِمَامَةِ وَعَلَى الْخُفَّيْنِ. Very nice. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did the wudu wearing his turban, he moved it back. He did the masah of his nasiyah. What did he do after? Did he just leave the rest of his head? No. He wiped his turban on top of his turban. He wiped on top of his turban. He then did a wipe on his khuf. And we will talk about that inshallah next time. So you can see the reason for disagreement, how much amount of hair to do. And we will get into what do you do, how do you do wudu when you wear the turbans. And this is a very authentic chain. There's 60 chains for this hadith. The one where Rasulullah ﷺ is doing wudu this way. 60 chains. You know how many? That is rare. That is a lot. That is a lot. Okay? So, according to Imam al-Shafi'i, the apparent meaning of masah is partial because the ayah said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَامْسَهُ بِرُؤُسِكُمْ. Wipe part of your head. So Imam al-Shafi'i, this gives you an idea on how he's thinking about it. He's saying Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, again, this is me putting words in his mouth, but I'm just summarizing. He is saying the ayah said, Allah said, part of your head. Correct? Part of your head. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not describe how big of a part. He just said part of your head. And he said Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is doing the wudu. Obviously he wants to follow the sunnah, so he'll make it a sunnah, but he will not make it a minimum that you do the full nasiyah or the full head. Imam al-Shafi'i is very, very specific, right? He's saying Allah didn't say the whole head, so how can I make the whole head fard? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it, so it is absolutely preferred that you do the whole head or at least the nasiyah, but the minimum is a little bit of the hair. Just a little bit. So I'm just giving you the way scholars think about it. Does that make sense? And others, for example, Hanbali school, they look at Quran and authentic hadith at the same level essentially. So they're saying if Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did it, then and the Quran says do the masah, and they don't use the B argument of bi ru'usikum, part of your head. No, they understand that differently. They're saying it needs to be the whole head. Because when Rasulullah was wearing the turban, he did the nasiyah, but then he wiped over his turban. Why would you wipe over your turban if you don't mean to do the masah of the whole head? So that's the argument. It makes sense? I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the disagreements. So if Allah said part of the head, so if you do the whole head, you're still doing part of the head, right? Moving on. For the women, braids, according to Imam Malik only Imam Malik. This is a little tough, okay? First he said do the whole head and the whole hair. Doesn't matter if they're connected to the head or not. So Imam Malik is the strictest in the masah. He's so strict that he's saying if you have tight braids, you need to loosen your braids and then do the wudu, otherwise your wudu is not accepted. This is Imam Malik, okay? Others, they don't have any such stipulations. The Hanafis, Shafi'is, Hanbalis, they don't have any stipulation like that, okay? It's completely fine to do the masah on braids. Head coverings, also tons of disagreement, okay? Some say that, if someone says to you, you can wear the turban, but you better have wudu before you wear the turban. You better have wudu before you wear the turban. That is not a correct opinion. That is wrong according to all the schools. So that is not valid. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clear. And then you can do the masah on your turban. Now, you might say, do I need to pull back and do the masah of the head and then? No. So let's look at it. Imam Malik again, not permitted to masah on the turban. Not permitted. Or any head covering. Not permitted. Khimar, hijab, the lady's hijab. Imam Malik says no wudu, no masah on the khimar or the turban. Imam Malik. Okay, he has his rationale. Hanafis and Shafi'is, you can wipe over your turban as long as you fill the minimum requirement. According to Shafi'is, what is the minimum? A little bit of the hair. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, the nasiyah. And then you can do the wiping over the turban. Clear? Hanbalis, and this is a strong opinion, you don't even need to move your turban. You can do the masah on your turban. And for the women, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all, you can do the masah on your hijab, according to Hanbali school. You don't need to pull your hair out. It's very difficult, women, right? Because they're doing wudu in a public place and stuff like that. My recommendation would be, put your hand, do the front of your head like it's in several ahadith, and then you can, for the rest of your head, just do the masah over your khimar and over your turban. Clear? So far so clear? Why the turban and the khimar? Why? Because they're difficult to take off. They're difficult to take off. There are different types of turbans, so let's look at a little bit of it. You see this turban right here? What is this kind of turban? This is called the muhannaka. What is it called? Muhannaka. This is how the Arabs at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear their turbans. They still do today, the Bedouins. Why is this specific style? The turban on the top makes sense, protects you from the heat of the sun. What is going on here on the hanak means the jawbone, okay? So they used to have a portion underneath their jawbone, so a cover here that they can lift up to protect themselves in case there's a dust storm or they're riding an animal or something like that. And they used to pull it down. Is this difficult to take off? It is difficult to take off. You're going to have to try again and put it back on, right? And they also had a do I have that example? I do not. But they also had a du'aba, a ribbon that comes out from the back of behind the turban. Okay, why am I talking about the different types of turban? This could be a longer discussion. I'm just going to cut it short. I'm just going to tell you that the reason they do that is because it's difficult to take off. Same rule applies for the hijab. It's difficult to take off, especially the hijab that are proper hijab. They are all the way around the neck and all the way back. And, our sisters, they go through a lot of challenges putting on the hijab. They have an undercap as well. There's a lot for them to take off. So the Hanbali opinion is pretty strong and is pretty safe. My recommendation is do the masah if you're wearing a head covering of your nasiyah, and then do the wiping off the rest of your head. Clear so far? Alhamdulillah. Neck. Lots of disagreement, right? On when you're doing the masah, should you do the masah of your neck as well? A lot of people do that. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody? Okay. Where does this come from? Okay. This is not necessarily an authentic narration anywhere that the Prophet ﷺ did that. But as part of ihsan, because Rasulullah ﷺ said, if you want to increase your radiance on the Day of Judgment, okay, then you should extend your wudu. Again, this tells you the whole philosophy of wudu according to Rasulullah ﷺ, which is who we need to follow. He said, فَمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمْ, whoever can amongst you, أَنْ يُطِيلَ غُرَّتُهُ فَلْيَفْعَلْ, meaning when he's talking about the radiance, he's talking about the wudu, because when you do wudu, you get radiance on the day of judgment. You get nur outside your body. If you want to have more nur, he said, then make it longer. So some scholars recommend that you do the neck. Most other scholars will say that's bid'ah, because that is not, I don't think that bid'ah argument, I don't like that word, right? It's thrown around too much, too loosely. I don't like that word. I wouldn't call it bid'ah, but I'm just telling you where this is coming from. Okay. So, according to Imam al-Ghazali, clearly Imam al-Ghazali is talking about the neck. So he's doing a dhikr on the neck. He's doing the wudu on the neck. So the Shafi'is, and especially the followers of the Ghazalian Shafi'i school, they are recommending that you do the wiping of the neck, and they have a specific dhikr for wiping of the neck. Allahumma fukka raqabati min an-nar. Oh Allah, save my neck from the hellfire. Save my neck from the hellfire. Wa'udhu bika min al-salasili wal-aghlal. And may Allah, and oh Allah, save me from the shackles of the hellfire, essentially. Right? So this is the dhikr of Imam al-Ghazali. There is no strong evidence to support the wiping of the neck, other than just as part of ihsan, to make your parts of your wudu longer. According to Shafi'i, wiping again, Imam Shafi'i did not make it fard. He said it is sunnah, right? And that you should take new water when you wipe the neck. In Hanafi, and one small opinion of Shafi'i and Hanbali, wiping is preferred to grain rewards. Okay. Anyways, ears, and then we're done, I promise you. Okay, I told you this is a bit long. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, al-udhunani min al-ras. Ears are part of the head. So when you do masah of the head, what does it include? According to this hadith, the ears. Clear? Everybody clear? Okay. So how do you wipe the ears? There's one hadith in Abu Dawud. This is not the only opinion. I'm just giving you samples. Okay. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam فأدخل إصبعيه السباحتين في أذنيه. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took his four fingers in the ear canal, and then ومسح بإبهاميه على ظاهر أذنيه. That he took the thumbs on the top part of the ears, right? So this is how he did it. So he cleaned inside, and then he used the thumbs to wipe, not wash, wipe the outside of his ears. And again, Imam al-Ghazali comes with a dhikr when you're wiping the ears. Imam al-Ghazali rahimahullah, he said, Allahumma ja'alni min alladhina yastami'una al-qawla fayattabi'una ahsana. This is an ayah in the Quran. Oh Allah, make me from those who listen to the commandments of the Quran, that is, and they follow the best of that commandment. Allahumma asmi'ni munadi al-jannati ma'al abrar. Oh Allah, let me hear the caller of Jannah, who is among the righteous people, meaning make me from the righteous people. Have the caller of Jannah call me among the righteous people. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us from among them. So you guys get the idea of the procedure? Very easy. You just take your four fingers, to clear the inside of your canal. Don't go too deep, okay? Don't get an ear infection, all right? And then wipe the outer part of your ears like this. And only Hanbalis say wiping the ears is wajib, meaning you must do it. Because Rasulullah, again, Hanbalis, how do they think? Hadith and Quran go like this, right? So because there's a hadith that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ears are part of the head. So when Allah said, do the part of the head or do the head, Hanbali saying the whole head, and then ears are part of the head, so ears are included. So if you don't wipe the ears, according to Hanbalis, your wudu is incomplete. The others, they make wiping the ears a sunnah. It is not a fard. It is not a minimum. Okay, you can do it. Obviously, they prefer that you do it. Hanafis, Malikis, Shafi'is, and only a smaller opinion of the Hanbalis, they say wiping is a sunnah. Okay, so basically all of the other schools saying it's sunnah. Only Hanbalis are saying it is fard. And Some say you can wipe it 3 times, but that's not very strong opinion that you need to wipe your ear 3 times. Or wiping your doing the masah 3 times, that's not a very strong opinion. There's a big discussion on that, which I'm not going to get into. Again, just in summary, how do you do masah? If when you're not wearing a head covering, and for sisters, if you're not wearing a head covering and you're among other sisters in the restroom when you're doing wudu, and it is easy for you to take off the hijab, take off the hijab and then do the whole head. That's best, because it's at least a sunnah according to all schools. Okay, but in public, if you need to do it, for men or women, for men, if it's easy to take off your head coverings, take it off and then do the whole head. That's best. But if you're wearing the head covering, then you do at least the nasiyah and then you do the masah over your head covering. Can it be any kind of head covering? No. If it's easy to take off, like a kufi, if you're just wearing a kufi, it's easy to take off. Don't do masah on the kufiyah, okay? Only for like serious headgear, right? That's difficult to take off, okay? Inshallah. And for ears, wipe your ears, people, okay? Inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.